Hi, this is Susan Phelan, and today I want to welcome author Shaunda Kennedy Wenger.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
And Shaunda has been published by several different presses, both traditionally and
non-traditionally.
Non-traditionally.
Yes.
And so we want to talk about both today.
That sounds great.
The Book Lover's Cookbook. I want to hear about this book first.
This was actually the first book that I published, and it was with Valentine Books at Random House. And it transpired out of my interest in reading, of course. I've had that, as most writers have, my entire life. And I was a part of a book club, and we get together every month and talk about the books we'd read and bring food. And I was reading our monthly book club selection, which was Sue Miller's While I Was Gone. And I came across a passage where she was getting together with her significant other, and they were making chili, and it just kind of struck an emotional connection with me. And I was like, oh, I have this great recipe for chili that I could make right now. And this is just such a beautifully, funny, great passage that Sue has written, and it kind of struck me. I'm like, I'm going to my book club meeting, we're talking about books, we're bringing food, and I was like, why not put them together? And so one thing led to another, and after a year, we had the cookbook. So
very cool. So chili is one of the recipes?
Chili is in there, along with Sue Miller's passage, of course, and they're making vegetarian chili, and so that's what's in there. And we have recipes from Barbara King Solver, her recipe for green tomato pie. We have contributions from Sandra Dallas, Toni Morrison, Barbara Cornwell.
So did you go to the authors and say, you mentioned this recipe, you mentioned this green tomato pie?
Yeah.
You mentioned green tomato pie. Can I have your recipe? Is that what you?
Yeah, we part of putting together the book with my co-author Janet Jensen, who was a reader and a writer. Mm-hmm. She was really excited about the idea. I was like, "There's no way I can do this alone." And so I approached her, and she was like, "Yeah, let's do it." And so we just read a lot of books, reread books we'd already read, found really interesting passages that were appealing, just as a standalone passage from outside the book that talked about food, whether the character was making it or the character was alluding to it in conversation, just something that would really be interesting, standalone conversational piece. And then we came up with the recipes for them. And then part of that, I was like, well, wouldn't it be neat to contact the writers and see what they have to say about why they're including food in their books, what if they have recipes, if they're cooks themselves. And so we started writing authors, and we would just write to them via their agent or their publisher, and lo and behold, they actually do forward those letters onto those authors. These days we do all our contacts via email. Richard Peck, who's in the cookbook, actually says he still likes to get that handwritten letter from his readers. But they forwarded on to the authors, and then some of those authors came back and were like, yeah, I have a recipe. Here it is. Cool. Or I don't have a recipe, but here's my thoughts on that passage. And so it just kind of went from there. And then we also collected quotes about food and reading and writing and put them in as well. Shopped it to some agents, and then it found its home. So
wonderful. Did you have to shop it quite a bit?
It took us about 6 months to find an agent.
That's not bad.
Not bad. We actually did a lot of talking to agents during that time, and publishers. And then when we did find our agent, he sold it within a week. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah. It went really quickly. I was like, okay, because he called and he's like, yeah, I love this book, and I'll get back to you. And I figured, okay.
So you didn't even have a chance to sit there and worry about it.
No, I didn't have a chance.
It was like, well, I know I won't hear about it
right.
for a long time. So
we definitely worried, and we're just kind of figuring out a game plan for 6 months as we neared the end of compilation of the book. But then once Jimmy Hines, our agent, got hold of it, it was like, okay, we have no time to sit back and wait. We have to get right to work. So,
wow.
Yeah.
So tell me about writing with a partner. What is that like?
It was good. I mean, Janet brought her talents and her kind of way of organizing to the book. I'm like a details person, and she's got the kind of overview.
So she's the forest and you're the trees?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And so we kind of like meshed well in working that way. We both read different styles of books, and so we were able to, I think, touch a lot of different novels that we wouldn't have been able to get to had we been working independently. We brought a lot, different tastes into the book. So,
did you have to make a difficult compromise? Was there one particular compromise? It was like.
I mean, as far as selections go?
Well, no, I mean as far as because there's two authors and you have to decide.
No, I think because we both brought a love of books to the cookbook, and it's really a celebration of books, a celebration of getting together with people and discussing those books and sharing food. And so it was more like just kind of a good celebratory process. Some of the passages that we wanted to include ultimately didn't get included in the cookbook because of permissions and all that stuff.
Yeah, and size,
and so
you
it'd be like, oh darn, but it'd be kind of neat because she'd be like, oh, I got a letter from Senator Dallas today, and it was like exciting, and so we
Very cool.
each have different fun experiences to share with each other.
We only have a minute left here, but I want to mention this book because I love the name and it's such a cute cover. Reality Bites, Tales of a Half Vampire.
Yes.
So give us like your 20-second pitch on this story.
Well, I'm a reader. I'm also a writer, and this is my latest middle grade. And it's about a girl who has dreams to attend the Halloween ball. Unfortunately, she comes from a family of monsters, and they all have their own rules and expectations of what the Halloween celebration is supposed to be.
Okay.
And it's not necessarily dressing up to impress your latest crush. And so she is finding
Compromise
her best way
between
to get out
family.
of the house in a way that she isn't going to be embarrassed about. And along the way, it's she's discovering who she is, and at the end, she finds out that everything that she's been pushing away from her family actually is a part of what makes her so
special.
Unique and special and different within her own family. And so she comes to find out who she is and find her place in her home and her family. So it's a fun book.
Thank you. Thank you so much for visiting with us today, Shaunda.
Well, thank you for having me.
This is Susan Phelan, and we were visiting with Shaunda Kennedy Wenger.
Yes.
And we're so glad you were able to watch us today. Have a great day. From Utah Book Speaks. I'll do that again. I don't know why I wanted to say that all the time. Okay. Thank you so much, Shaunda, for visiting us with...
We got it.
Thank you so much, Shaunda, for visiting with us today. It's been really nice to meet you. We've known each other online for a while.
Oh, we have.
And now I get to meet you, and thank you. This is Susan Phelan, and this is Utah Book Scene. We interviewed Shaunda Kennedy Wenger. Thank you for listening today and watching us.